Is it worth it to hire a realtor? We're going to dig into some numbers. We're going to talk about it. All that starts now. Hey everyone, Seth Marchant with the Home Team Brokers here. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel living in Oregon and you'd like to know more about what it's like to live in Oregon, make sure and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell. That way you'll be notified every time we drop a new video, which is twice a week. And if you're somebody that's thinking about taking the next steps to moving to Oregon as real estate brokers, as much as we like making these videos, we'd love to help you move here. So you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below for our calendar if you want to schedule a Zoom call with us. I'm going to talk to you about things from the buyer side as well as the seller side. Now, I know a lot of you watching this are probably buyers, probably people coming from outside of the state, so I'll keep it quick on the seller side and get right into it on the buyer side, but we'll jump into the seller side real quick here first. So why would somebody not want to hire a realtor? What's the obvious reason? The first one would be money. Sometimes I see people saying that it's not worth it to hire a realtor, or I've seen people say things like realtors are overpaid. I saw this tweet recently. It's got over 50,000 likes. This person only had 16,000 followers too. So a tweet that has 50,000 likes from 16,000 followers means that it got shared quite a few times. And obviously a lot of people agreed with this sentiment that realtors are overpaid, but the reality is the numbers say that the average realtor makes just over $40,000 a year. I think maybe some of these people that think that realtors are overpaid are probably just watching maybe a little bit too much TV. Maybe you're watching that show from Netflix, Selling OC, where you've got these glamorous realtors that are making six-figure commissions in Orange County, California, seemingly doing very little work.
This is OC Real Estate.
Right?
Oh my God! Go ring the bell.
So if you're basing your perception of real estate agents on a show like that, then yeah, it definitely feels like realtors are overpaid. Now, the vast majority of realtors do not renew their license for a second time. I think the number is actually in the single digits. So that should indicate to you just how rough of a business real estate can be. Real estate is definitely one of those Pareto rule industries, one of those 80-20 rules where 20% of the people are making 80% of the money. And those 20% of people have spent years branding themselves, building relationships, spending time, getting involved in the community, and you don't see all that goes into it. You don't see underneath the hood. You just see that maybe that one big house with that big commission. You don't see everything that led up to it. So I think there's kind of a stigma in some cases for realtors that they're not worth their value or that they're overpaid. And consequently, you get some people that don't want to pay a realtor. They don't want to use a realtor. So how much money can you save if you're going to sell your home by selling your home on your own, also known as a FSBO, for sale by owner? Let's look at the numbers. And the real estate commissions, how much money you can save in the real estate commissions, we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's just start by looking at the performance of FSBOs. And I actually hadn't looked at this in a while. I was actually kind of surprised that the gap was this big, because I feel like when I recall looking at it in the past, the gap wasn't actually quite that big. But as you can see, homes that are for sale by owner sell for significantly less than homes that are listed by a real estate agent. So why is that? Well, you might have to consider the type of personality of the type of person that doesn't want to go the conventional route of hiring a realtor. These people are often trying to squeeze every drop of juice out of the deal that they possibly can. I noticed that FSBOs are usually priced a little bit high, and consequently, they tend to sit on the market for a little bit longer. I also noticed that FSBOs don't tend to have as many price cuts, as many frequent price cuts, or as big price cuts as homes that are listed by agents. So you got homes that are slightly overpriced, they end up sitting on the market for too long, they don't take the price cut to adjust to where they probably should be. And so consequently, you end up with FSBOs just selling for less than homes that are listed with an agent. And you as a buyer, you know how it goes, right? When you see a home that's been on the market for your perceived longer than average, it's the same reaction every time. What's wrong with the home? right? So buyers don't like homes that sit on the market. You price your home too high, it's gonna sit on the market for longer. FSBOs commonly make this mistake, and it obviously is costing them. Now, I've heard some people say that realtors will blackball FSBOs. That might be true in some cases. I don't really see how that's true. You know, for us and the home team brokers, we're gonna show you any home that you wanna see. We're not gonna tell you that you can't go see a home. So, and that's probably really gonna be true for most of the realtors that I know. I don't know of any realtors that are blackballing certain properties. But with that being said, we're still gonna advise our clients of the circumstances. And the circumstances are that you're dealing with somebody, as I mentioned, that's trying to squeeze every drop of juice out of this deal and trying to keep every single penny that they can and make as much as they possibly can. And so there's gonna be some negotiation throughout this deal post-offer, usually post-inspection. There's going to be some additional negotiations, and you're gonna have to negotiate with somebody that doesn't want to budge an inch. Even in a seller's market, typically sellers are conceding something if there's something wrong with the house, a major repair, a major health and safety hazard with the house. You know, after you do the inspection, if they find something big or you know, just something that you should reasonably expect to be in working condition that wasn't apparent before the inspection, oftentimes the sellers will concede and repair or give you a credit at closing to repair it, you know, after you take possession of the home. So there's usually going to be some negotiations post-inspection. Sellers usually going to concede some things. If you're working with a FSBO, don't expect the seller to concede much. Again, they're probably not going to budge a single inch. Now, that might not be the case for every FSBO, but that's certainly going to be the rule more than it is the exception. Now, if you feel like you have the time, the expertise, you're willing to deal with all of the hassles, and you want to sell your home on your own, that's great. I wish you the best of luck. Doesn't mean that we can't be friends. In fact, if you want to still give us a call and run a question by us, you know, something small, and you're selling your house on your own, we'll probably still help you out. We'll probably still answer your question, you know? No hard feelings at all, totally understandable. In fact, I can really empathize with it. Before I got my license, my house that I sold before last, you know, I was starting to do the math and think to myself, man, the commission that we have to pay the realtor, it's almost worth it for me to just figure out how to do this on my own. I'm a little bit of a deal shopper, bargain hunter, you know, always looking for a way to save a buck, make a buck. So it was kind of my inclination to X out the middleman, X out the realtor when we sold our last house. I didn't do that, and in retrospect, it definitely would have been a mistake. It was definitely the right move to use a realtor, and I definitely know that now more than now that I'm licensed and I've sold homes, and I see the process and I see all the things that can go wrong, all the things that can come up, and it would. Knowing what I know now, it just seem crazy to try and sell your house on your own without having any experience. But hey, again, if you want to go for it, you know, more power to you. If you have a question, doesn't mean that you can't still reach out to us. All right, so let's talk about things from the buyer side now. So the seller pays the commission. So a buyer's agent doesn't charge anything. So when you're buying a house, you don't have to pay your buyer's agent anything. The seller's agent is paying out that commission, right? So why would somebody not use a buyer's agent? Well, we do see it from time to time. The biggest reason I think sometimes we're seeing that is the kind of the most common person is somebody that's been shopping online for a while, like shopping on Zillow and Redfin. They have a really strong idea of what they want. It's kind of just a matter of writing the offer. And so what they do is they find the house that they want, and then they go to the listing agent and they use the listing agent to write the offer. Now, in the state of Oregon, it is legal to use an agent for both sides of the transaction. It's not legal in every state. It is still highly frowned upon in the state of Oregon, so it's really uncommon. And that's because it opens the broker up to an incredible amount of liability. In the state of Oregon, a real estate broker is considered a fiduciary, meaning you're supposed to have the highest level of trust with your real estate broker. And it's extremely hard, impossible really, for a real estate broker to be a fiduciary to both sides. It's just impossible for one person to negotiate and to act on behalf of both sides simultaneously. It just doesn't work, right? So there's going to be some negotiation. You might come out with what both sides feel like is a fair deal, but you really can't have one agent advocating for both sides at the same time. So oftentimes, I don't see this working very well, where a buyer will go to a listing agent to have the listing agent write the offer. The reasoning behind the buyer doing this is because the buyer thinks that because the listing agent would get both sides of the commission, the listing side and the buy side of the commission, that they're somehow going to steer the seller into choosing that buyer's offer, which could be the case, but again, highly unethical. There's a ton of liability there doing something like that. And I think there's a little bit of a flaw in that logic, because if you're looking for a realtor to do something slightly shady, you have to remember you're going to be working with that person for the next at least 30 days or so, and there's going to be things that you're going to have to trust that person with, and you're now working with somebody that's doing shady stuff that simultaneously you want to also be able to be a fiduciary and to be able to trust and negotiate on your behalf. So the logic doesn't quite work there with the strategy of using the listing agent to write the offer, because they think that they're going to be able to steer the seller towards that offer and get both sides of the commission. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. I've seen it tried, haven't seen it work personally. I've seen it tried personally, but I've heard some stories actually as I was thinking about this video this morning, getting ready to film it. We do have one client from our YouTube channel that we've had a few transactions with so far, and he told me about one property that he said he got taken on, and I asked him what happened, and he said there was a bunch of stuff that was wrong with the property that they didn't quite find out until later. And I asked him how that happened, and he said they used the listing agent to write their offer. And so of course that listing agent wasn't really advocating for them, and probably wasn't really doing any diligence for the buyers, because the listing agent is representing the sellers, right? So it can definitely backfire on you, probably more so than it's actually going to work out for you, but that is something that we see. And oftentimes it doesn't work, and then what happens is these people will come to us, and they'll tell us a story about how they tried to write an offer or two using the listing agent, and then it didn't work out. And you have to remember too that that's got to be kind of an awkward conversation. Because when we as buyer's agents, when we write offers, a lot of how our offer is written is based on information that we can extract from the seller's agent. Now, the seller's agent is not going to give that information to just Joe Blow buyer off of the street to help them, write an offer. So just right out of the gate, having the listing agent write an offer for you, you're kind of playing from a disadvantage. So if you want to try it, great, but again, I think there's way more downsides to upsides. Again, you're asking the agent to do something shady, and then you're going to try and trust the agent at the same time. So probably not a good idea, but we do see people doing that. And I think another big thing too that often gets overlooked is it's just one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. And there's so many unforeseen things that can come up in a real estate transaction that if you're going at it alone, or you don't have somebody representing you, you're not going to know what to do. Sometimes the seller doesn't cooperate. Sometimes the seller doesn't perform what's in the contract. In other words, they don't do what what they said they were going to do in the contract. Or sometimes you maybe have some sort of agreement with the seller, maybe about some furniture they're going to leave or something like that, and they don't comply with your request. So there's a lot of little things that can go wrong, and if you don't have any experience in dealing with that, it's going to be really tough to get through. So I think from the buy side, using a buyer's agent is kind of a no-brainer. Again, you don't have to pay for one. And back to some of the numbers. So I mentioned I would touch on commission. You can go a lot of places online now, like Zillow, for example. You can actually see the buyer's agent commission on Zillow now. You can't see the seller's commission. That's between the seller's agent and the homeowner. But you do see the buyer's commission. The people online I see saying that realtors are paid too much are usually kind of inflating those commission numbers. They're usually not as high as people say. Sometimes I see people say 6 to 7%. It's usually more like 4 to 6%. So 4% would be when you're getting into like multiple 7-figure properties. Averages are probably closer to 5 to 6%. depending on what the agent puts into the property. So what kind of package does the agent have for you? Are they paying for the photography, videography, drone, staging, 3D walkthroughs? Realtors spend quite a bit of money to promote and list homes, and usually realtors will have a couple of different options. So sometimes that will kind of dictate 0.5% or 1% in commission, but you're looking at 4 to 6%, and that's total. So that's going to get split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. So let's just say 5%. So the seller's agent gets 2.5%, buyer's agent gets 2.5%. So that 2.5% that the buyer's agent gets, their brokerage takes a little cut of that as well. And then the realtors have brokerage fees, MLS fees, advertising overhead. Once things are all said and done, they're usually looking at closer to like 2%, maybe 1.5% from something that was originally 2.5%. So some of the numbers sometimes you see online with if you're just trying to figure out how much a realtor makes and you're taking like 5% of $500,000 and saying that a realtor makes $25,000, which I've seen a lot of people do, it doesn't work that way. They make 2.5% of like say $500,000, and they actually end up pocketing more like 1.5% to 2%. So I think it's easy to sometimes look at one big transaction that a realtor has and one big commission and think that realtors it's not worth it to use a realtor, they're overpaid. And we've definitely had some transactions that were really smooth and easy. We only showed a house, we only wrote one offer, we got that offer accepted. It was a very smooth process, not a ton of work went into that individual client, which is really what you want. I know some other realtors that in these past few years have written over 20 offers for one client before they finally got an offer accepted. You know how much time that is, how many houses you have to look at, how much paperwork you have to go through, how much back and forth there is with 20 offers. So you definitely want things to be quick and easy, and we always try and make things quick and easy. But again, people just don't always know what goes into a real estate transaction. These videos that you're watching, for example, our videos are usually about 15 minutes on average. We've got about 100 of them online between a couple of different channels, maybe about 25 hours worth of videos. For every 15-minute video, it takes 6, 7, 8 hours to prepare, to film, to go out and film, drone photography, editing, uploading, downloading, 6, 7, 8 hours per video. So let's just say 6 hours per video, 100 videos. We've got about 600 hours into our videos that we use to attract people such as yourself, and we don't get paid to make those videos, obviously. That's a lot of time. That's a part-time job where we're getting paid nothing, obviously, just simply to drive traffic. And so people don't see that. They don't see under the hood, and they don't factor in things like that because they just don't know. They don't factor those things into the commission. So if you break it down hourly and calculate a realtor's expenses, all their overhead, and all the time they do, they put into doing stuff like this, the hourly rate is definitely not as high as some people might think. So I know tons of bias in this video, right? Obviously, I think you should use a realtor, whether you're buying or selling. But the good news for you is if you don't want to, it's easier than ever to not use a realtor. There's more tools and more things for you online to be able to market your home, and information that you have access to that will kind of help you through that process. So if you do want to go at it alone, it's definitely easier than ever, but can't think of too many cases where that's advised. In fact, a lot of realtors, when they sell their own home, it's not uncommon for a realtor to use another agent to sell their home. Again, they're just to avoid liability. So if the experts using their own service, if that doesn't, if that's not a tell for you, I don't know what is. And for people coming from outside of the state, that's when a buyer's agent is really worth it, because you need boots on the ground. There's only so much online shopping that you can do. There's only so much information that you can gather online. You need somebody to go out and look at a property, step on the property, see how the floorboards feel, see if they squeak, see if they feel funny, see how this house smells, see if there's any noisy dogs barking next door. And that's part of what Paul and I do here at the Home Team Brokers in Oregon, is if you're online shopping for homes, you want to move to Oregon, you want us to check out some homes before you get here, we can definitely do that for you. I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into maybe why you should use a realtor. Again, I know there's a lot of bias here, but like I said, if you don't want to use a realtor, it doesn't mean that we can't be friends. No offense taken. But if you're ready to take the next steps, if you have questions about moving to Oregon, you can call us, text us, email us, or you can click the link in the description for our calendar if you want to schedule a Zoom call with us. If this video helped you, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and if you want to see more videos about what it's like to live in Oregon, make sure and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell. Until next time, take care, everyone.